Chord Inversion. Let's get into it. So basically what you see here on screen is a simple excerpt, and we're basically banging out a two-chord jam, which is pretty common in this style of music. But instead of repeating those notes, or those chords rather, over and over again, the second time around here, these blue chords here, we're going to start introducing some inversions. So we're going from a C chord to a G chord to a C chord to a G chord. It's just that the second time around we are introducing some inversions, and so this ensures that things don't get too stale, and we're providing some, color and ear candy for our listener. Let's play the first example followed by the second, and I'll deep dive a little more. G chord, repetition, Alright, so in order to get a better understanding of this chord sequence here, I've basically made a copy of it here in the piano roll. So this is our first example here, right? We're going from a C chord to a G chord, a C to a G. Let me activate the piano track here. We'll go over this first sequence before tackling the inversion version, if you will. So this is what it sounds like. C, E, G, B, C major 7th chord. Now this is a G chord, back to the C, and then back to the G chord. So as for the second chord here, the G chord here, we have the A in the bottom, which is basically the 9th of the chord, followed by the B, which is the major 3rd, the D, which is the 5th, and the F sharp represents the major 7th. The takeaway here is that the sequence from here to here, back to here repeats itself, all right? It's very repetitive. There's no color. We're just banging out the same chords. I want to show you a way that you can spice things up and still maintain a two-chord jam, which is very common. Let's look at this second example here. This clip is called the Inversions Piano. So as for the first chord here, the C chord remains the same. We have it in root position, meaning that we tackle the C at the bottom, the E, G, B major 7th, right, of the chord. The second chord, same thing, that G chord here, we spell it as follows: A, B, D, F sharp. Now the third time around, instead of having this C chord, which looks like this, right, this is identical to this first chord. We basically take the root of the chord, pitch that note up, and send it to the second note of the scale, which would be the D here. So now instead of having the C at the bottom, we have the major 3rd, G, B, and then D. This basically spells out a first inversion chord, right? As for that last chord here, the G chord, it's the same chord as this one. The only difference is that we have the F sharp at the bottom in the second time around. Right? Same chord. So what this does is that even though we're playing the same chord going from C to G to C to G, the second time around, these inversions are creating a little bit more color and complexity to the song. So let me play this sequence here, and you'll see what I mean. Same C chord, and then finally a G chord. Right, our first example, we're just going from root position to this version, back to the root position to this version. All right, let me play it in context with the simple chords here. So I'll engage that track as well as the bass so we get an understanding of what it sounds like harmonically, because that bass line, it really does contribute to solidifying and grounding that chord, right? So I'll give you a better view. Same chords. Let's do this one now. Bit more colorful. Hear the difference? So these last two chords are basically the C chord as well as the G chord. The only difference is that we've pitched up some of these notes and we've introduced this 9 in the chord. All right, the takeaway here is basically trying to figure out ways of spelling out some of the chords, especially when we play these 2-chord jams, which is very common in synthwave music. You'll hear this all the time, but one way of, I guess, getting away from the typical, repetition, chord 1, chord 2, back to chord 1, chord 2, is to switch things out with inversions. All right, real simple here, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.